Hello everyone, so today we're going to talk about the volume of a cylinder. And so to the left I have an image of what's called a cylinder. And so I tell you to the right what the formula for the volume of the cylinder is. And so the formula for the volume of the cylinder is just V is equal to pi r squared h. Okay, V again is our volume, that's what the V means. Pi, we know, is a non-ending, non-repeating number. That typically we round to 3.14. Our r, again, reminding you, is our radius for our circle, and h is the height. In this case, I'm talking about the height of the cylinder. Okay, so here in my diagram here where I look at the cylinder and I'm given dimensions, what this arrow is pointing to is the radius of my circle that I can outline here just for more emphasis. So here is my circle at the bottom of my cylinder. Okay, and so I know that the radius there is 8 kilometers, and then the height I'm given for the cylinder is 7 kilometers. So now I'm just going to plug in these values into the formula. So here I have that V is equal to pi r squared h. And so plugging in now, I know that my r is my 8, and then up here my 7 is my h. Okay, and so now I'm just going to, instead of writing my r squared here, I'm going to plug in 8. So I have 8 squared, and then instead of h, I'm going to write 7. And so simplifying this here, I'm going to square the 8, and so when I do that, I get pi times 64 times 7, okay, because 8 squared is 64, and then when I do 64 times 7 in my calculator, I get pi times 448, or in other words, we would just say that this is 448 pi. Okay, so what we do when we have pi, my pi symbol here times numbers, what I want to do is multiply the numbers together first, because it doesn't matter in which order I multiply the numbers, right? 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2, because 2 times 3 is 6, and so is 3 times 2. So the idea here is that I just want to multiply the physical numbers out first, and that's why here I multiply the 64 and the 7, and then I get 448 times pi. And so the idea here is that now I'm going to write this as 448 pi, because typically we have the physical number in front of the pi symbol. Okay, and so there's in some cases where they may say use 3.14 for pi, in which case you would plug in that number for pi as well, and then just multiply using your calculator. Plug in those numbers. But here I'm just going to leave it in terms of pi, and so this is 448 pi km and then cubed, because we're talking about the volume, so our units need to be cubed. Okay, so moving on to the volume of a pyramid here, the formula that I have for the volume of the pyramid is 1/3 the big B times h. Okay, and so what the big B means is the area of the base of the pyramid. Okay, and the height, the h stands for the height of the pyramid. So h is equal to height of the pyramid. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to try to find out what the area of the base of my pyramid is. And then from there, I'm going to take that number and plug it into this formula that I have here in red, that I just highlighted in pink. So I have that the area of the base of the pyramid is going to be length times width. And so here you'll see that I can just color this base here in green, And you can see here that this looks like a rectangle. All right, so that's how I know that the area of the base of my pyramid in this case would be length times width, because I can see that the base of my pyramid is a rectangle. So the base of the pyramid is a rectangle. Okay, so then that means that my big B is equal to length times width, which in this case is equal to 10 times 8, which is 80. Okay, because again, the big B means the area of the base of the pyramid. Okay, and so since the base of the pyramid is a rectangle, then I know that my big B is going to be equal to length times width. And then I'm given that my length and my width are 10 and 8. And so I just plug in and get that. I have that the area of the base of the pyramid is 80. And so you want to be careful here. You're not done with the problem. I just found what the big B is. So now I need to plug in into the volume formula. So here I have that V is equal to 1/3 big B times H. And then this is going to be equal to 1/3 times 80 times my height of my pyramid. So here, what I have highlighted in orange will give me the height of my pyramid here, because that's what I have highlighted in orange. You can see the dotted line showing that that's the height of the pyramid. So here I'm going to plug in, and I have that my H is 6 inches, and so plugging in there, I get 1/3 times 80 times 6. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to multiply all three of these numbers into my calculator. Okay, so I'm going to multiply the 1/3 times 80 times 6. Okay, and so when I do that, I get 160 inches cubed. And so the reason why I wrote parentheses around the 1/3 is I was just showing you, depending on how you're entering it in your calculator, if you want to put 1/3 times 80 times 6 into your calculator, you just want to be careful and make sure that you're putting parentheses around the 1/3 so that your calculator understands that you want to take 1/3 and multiply it by 80 and not do 1 divided by 3 and then multiply by 80. So it really has to do with PEMDAS. But basically, you just want to make sure that you just put parentheses around it when you put it into the calculator. That's pretty much the moral of the story.